Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
Hey, fellows. It's the first night of another season.
Nerds roll. Nerds roll.
Oh, my glasses are broken.
This will begin season 2 of Nerd Skool.
Welcome back to season 2, Nerd High. Glad to have you.
It's gonna be crazy stunts. We're gonna there's gonna be stunts.
Joe's gonna
fireworks.
bring more penis jokes.
A lot of penis stuff.
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy,
Star Spangled Band with a plan.
Maybe I'll try to do a cartwheel.
TBJ.
Welcome. Congratulations. You did dirt. Ta-da. I ain't got no shame. All my exes can tune in. We can have an episode where I compare them to all the Marvel villains. We can do that.
Art Star.
I don't love Wiener.
I'm just trying to make money.
Lord Artemis Prime rises.
Yeah, my real name is Joe.
Did I ever tell you about the time I hung out with DMC at Mertz?
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
I just wanted us all to share just what we learned from, or what we experienced at Heroes Con and our Nerd Skool's first foray into Heroes Con with each other and everything, and since we all got separated, like, what did you see? What did you find? And I wanted to share on audio the things that Larry Hama said and taught me that I was excited about.
All right. Well, yeah, you're the student. This is your first convention ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was our first. I mean, we've all been to conventions before, but we've never actually been on a panel before. We'll get into our panels, which went really well.
They did.
And thanks to everybody who came out for those panels.
Yes, shout out to all our new listeners that were there.
We
that interacted.
appreciate every single person who showed up, even if I threatened you. We're so
And just getting noticed by people while we're like on a convention floor and at the after party while Joe was trying to get me tore up drunk.
Yes.
Joe's influence on Art Star.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really neat that people would say, hey, it's the Nerd Skool guys. Like, they would recognize us. And so it was almost like being kind of a celebrity. And that
Yes! Who drew the Optimus Prime? Okay, not you. How about that?
oh, you want the Optimus Prime?
I am now told. I drew it by
We're taking over, Art.
So I'm at my first Heroes Con. It's Friday, the first day. And we just finished our Nerd Skool panel. And it went pretty well. Huh?
That dude right over there just said it was the best panel of the day.
And he
Really?
joined because he was at our panel.
Wait, so what did you say?
This guy here.
Yeah, what did he say?
He joined our panel. Like, I asked him,
Yeah.
do you know of us? And
Yeah.
he was like, nah. So
Yeah.
he said, but after seeing the panel,
Yeah.
he joined. He found us on Spotify.
I should
It was like,
ask him to
yeah,
say
he
this,
said,
right? He's right behind you, yeah. They just told me you said you subscribed to our podcast on Spotify.
Yeah.
Because you were in our panel and you liked us. You had fun and enjoyed us. I have that same shirt from Loot Crate, by the way.
That's when I got this. It's from Loot Crate.
From Loot Crate, right? Did you ever get the Cobra from G.I. Joe, the bottle opener?
No.
Oh, you never got that? Yeah,
I got the ears from. It was like a necklace of ears from Walking Dead that Daryl had.
Okay. That's
but
cool,
each
I
ear
got that
was
too,
soap.
yeah. Oh, well, that's cool, yeah. Oh, what's your name?
Robbie.
Robbie, I'm Joe. Nice to meet you, man.
Hey, nice
Thanks
to
for
meet you.
subscribing, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks for being in there. Oh, you were there too.
Yeah,
you guys
yeah,
like it? Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was definitely my favorite panel of the
Yay!
day.
Hey, that's great to hear.
I hope Daredevil wins the TV tournament tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think it has a good
I
shot.
plan on checking out your guys' episode, hear them school you on.
Yeah, listen to
nerd
them
stuff.
because I'm an idiot. I wish we would have got that little boy's name, that little boy, our biggest fan, our broken arm boy.
You mean my biggest nemesis of both panels?
Yeah, I was just checking the audio to make sure we got it, and I didn't realize you had a whole on threatened fight with him.
Hey, he came back at me. It wasn't just me. I did do fair warning to everyone. They can yell, but I bite back. I gave that at the beginning of every panel. Feel free to come at me. Hi, everyone. Yes,
Right.
I love it. That's an audience. We're going to do a brief intro of who we are, and then we are...
Yep.
We are recording. Official warning.
Yes.
Everything
On
in
our
here is
podcast.
recorded.
God bless it. Can I
You will
intro?
be on
Can
the
I
podcast.
intro it?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, Zoom makes you do that.
Y'all, this is going to happen a lot. And it takes a lot of wrangling for my friends. My name is TBJ. I am one of 4 hosts of a podcast called Nerd Skool. We are 4 hosts. We have Professor Andy here, who was a comic writer and reporter and is all around nerding it since way before I was born. We have Art Star here. He's our probably second highest nerd on the totem pole, but he fancies himself a Sith, so I put him at the bottom.
I'm making
no
her
matter
my
what his
apprentice.
knowledge says. We have Joe here as our student. Joe has 1,000 million trillion questions about everything that comes out in a superhero movie. So most of our podcast is us explaining everything to Joe. For season 1, we worked our way through phase 1 of the MCU, and then every summer we take summer field trips and watch movies we each recommend, like stupid things like Barbarella. Sorry if you like Barbarella, but
That was my suggestion, Barbara.
so every summer we take a break and we watch something outside just to keep up with our nerddom. We're in season. Did we finish? Where are we?
We're at the end of season 2.
We're into season 2. Sometimes I can't remember where we are. So we decided today that we were going to take 2 of our favorite things, movies and sports ball. Can you tell how much I love sports ball? Okay, so you know when you watch sports ball, there are like these brackets because they have these tournaments, and then like all these teams must come together and fight. They battle. They do the thing.
They also did that at WrestleMania 4.
Okay, I don't know anything about WrestleMania, but in sports ball, I learned that this happens. So we have 64 teams or 64 movies that are competing against each other. So that's 32 matchups. Okay, we're gonna go a little fast in the first bit, but feel free to boo and yell and whatever. But I will note that I yelled back. You have been warned. Mm-hmm. And then when we get to the Sweet 16, that's a word I remember today from sports. When we get to the Sweet 16, we will then hit the microphone out to you guys, and you can start telling us between the competitors. And that's how it is a live bracket. We have the bracket up, so you will be seeing how we win. If you think we were absolutely wrong, again, we can fight later in the parking lot. But I warn you against it because I'm pretty stealthy. I might be short.
Well, yeah, of all the things I would have thought would have happened at our panels, TBJ threatening to beat up a child was not on my bingo
Hey,
list.
Exactly.
It was warranted. 1, 2, that kid was about it. Okay,
Yeah.
He loved it.
was not
Yeah.
Oh, he
cowering.
was throwing down. He was happy to
And
be
his dad knew he had it coming. So
Yeah,
he
his dad
fine.
was not going to stop it. Yeah,
No, so I had parental consent. I'd like to say he did not say, whoa, back up off the kid at either panel, mind you.
Yeah,
at
he was at
either
both.
panel.
Yeah.
We had a lot of strong opinions.
I wonder if he went home that night and be like, Dad, we got to go back tomorrow because those guys are crazy, Dad.
Well, that's something to note, guys. We did have a good amount of people who returned day 2
Yeah,
of
that's
our
right.
discussion. And that felt good because that meant our formula and what we talked about and how we
Yeah.
did it was resonating enough. And that I think we're pretty cool together. That's why we're here.
Well, me and
but
Andy-
other people felt that too.
Well, me and Andy was at the panel before our first panel.
Yeah.
And, we was taking stock of like how many people was there. And then like, it felt good to surpass that panel. And that panel was basically like a podcast 101 kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
what do you have to do and all of this and all of that. And
It was a
we
good
was
panel.
actually, yeah, it was good.
It was
but like,
good.
here we was doing.
No disrespect, but like,
Yeah, no
we were very
disrespect. No,
surprised.
yeah.
It helps. I think that we had pretty good gimmicks, thanks to
Right.
Andy Mansell with Heroes Con for sort of setting us up with a great way to get us involved and also give us a hook to get some people there.
Yeah,
Which is
definitely. The topic
what we
was
did.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah, we ran superhero movie tournament on Friday night.
Sports
was basically
ball.
just like March Madness, 64 superhero movies in a big tournament to see who would win. And
reign supreme.
And Black Panther came out on top,
As
knocking
it
off
should have.
Avengers Endgame in the final matchup.
Here we go.
Black Panther
Final.
versus
Wow.
This is the
Avengers
final.
Endgame. This is the final match.
Dun 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 dun. Is that a sports song? Dun dun dun. That plays somewhere in sports ball.
Wakanda forever.
It does play in sports ball somewhere. Yes, it can.
I'm just.
All right. In-game hands. All right. Black Panther hands.
Wow.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and all friends in between, we have our top winner of the 2022 Heroes Con Sports Ball Nerd School Championship.
And Mr. Mansell's jaw has dropped.
Is Black Panther.
And then on Saturday, we did the same thing, a big March Madness style tournament, except with superhero TV shows. And believe it or not, there are 64 of them now.
We've got people that want to voice their opinion on television.
All right, it's time. You ready?
About television.
You ready?
Television.
You started recording?
Yep, we are recording.
All
Nerd
right.
School Podcast Day 2 Heroes Con.
Hello, friends.
Friends,
Ignore
Romans,
them.
countrymen.
Hi. So we're Nerd School, and before we start with our welcome, how many friends are coming back after hanging out with us yesterday? Yes.
Yay.
Most of you were cool with me. Some of you, we got words. It's fine.
This is coming from an era like back. I remember back in the 90s, Wizard Magazine would every month would have the casting call for the Captain America movie, the casting call for the Hawkman movie or whatever, and it was always mostly wrestlers because they always thought they had to be the dudes that could pull off the superhero costume looks, not realizing you can beef up regular actors. But I mean, like there was one I actually saw one recently. There was an old image of him, and one of them had like Robert De Niro as Wolverine. Because it was back in the day when he was just off of Cape Fear and he had the buff thing and he had the raggedy hair.
Okay.
But yeah, but now we're in an era where we don't have to do that anymore because they're doing it themselves, and we just get to see the stuff. And it's just every once in a while I stop and just get amazed that we're in that space. We've come from there where no one wanted to make superhero movies at all to that's being what
Some incredible actors taking on these roles.
That's right.
Who are good actors who also, Thor, you also take your time in the gym. Like, I'm not mad at you. I'm excited and you can act. Good job.
And Natalie Portman, I think, got real buff for Thor: Love and Thunder.
I know, I can't wait to see that.
Coming out soon.
I'm hearing everybody's already saying it's terrible, right? Is that what that word is?
I've heard mixed things. I've heard I loved it, and I've heard some people go it's a disaster. But the kind of people who will say it's a disaster, I don't trust them. They don't always. I mean, it might be bad, but
I'm wondering also.
But if you remember, not everyone loved the OG Thor, right? Not everyone was like, "Yay!" And I was like, I liked it because I'm here for the romance of it all. But also, there's some other good parts of it. I think I'm excited to see it. I think people have to. Some people who hate everything altogether are always going to be out there. There are going to be some people who are not going to be fans of any changes they make.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people they want comic book. They want direct comic book translations.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
so I think Thor Ragnarok was well received enough that everyone kind of went, all right, Taika Waititi, you can do whatever you want, and maybe he went too far. I don't know. But also there's a contingent of like Thor, like people who like the comic book Thor. There's a real hard ass Viking lore warrior kind of thing about it. And Gore the God Butcher is the villain, and he's a pretty as far as I remember, he was sort of like a gruesome, more serious kind of villain. So if they make him silly, then I can see comic nerds going, come on. But
so back to the Heroes Con.
Yeah. Sorry.
Quick question about the panels for you guys. So were those panels that we participated in and you guys saw, even the ones that aren't, is that kind of that's kind of the deal at a comic book convention? It's in like a ballroom. It's just like kind of people talking.
They're in the
like,
offset rooms of wherever your convention is. Yeah. That's the norm.
And is that sort of like a normal attendance? Like they're not usually packed. It's just a few people here and there, or are they?
It depends on who's there. I mean, if we I mean, how many people were at the Larry Hama?
Larry Hama was more than we had, but not by much. I mean,
even the Jonathan Hickman, I guess that was kind of packed, right?
But I will admit, like as someone who's gone before, I don't always go to the conversations. I'm that person who is just here to go watch people watch and shop and walk the floor. I don't always, this was the first time I really took some time to actually go watch some panels and participate. And I enjoyed it. Like I did a draw with me. I was like, y'all, I texted you guys. I'm like, I'm basically a comic book artist now.
Yeah.
So that art star, I'm a genius. It was fun, but there also are a lot of people who are there to, people watch. And
the show floor is usually the big draw. It's where all the cosplay people hang out. It's where you can buy stuff and look at stuff and see weird stuff.
I started watching the Venom thing.
What's that?
He's like Bane meets the guy from right in front of you.
Oh, right there.
The guy from the House of a Thousand Corpses.
I'm afraid. I always feel bad for staring at people, but they will obviously they want you to stare.
Free coffee samples. Comic coffee samples.
Free samples.
Yeah, comic coffee samples.
But it depends on where you are and what the panels are. I mean, if you got, Heroes Con has a reputation, and like comic professionals love it because it's focused on comics. But having gone to like San Diego Comic-Con, which is the biggest one in the world, many times, and it just kind of jams up the entirety of downtown San Diego, and that place is packed. You're wading through almost shoulder to shoulder with everybody, cutting through nerd stench, and those panels can get packed because there's Hall H, the biggest hall, and the San Diego Convention Center is where Marvel Studios comes and previews the things you're like no one else is going to see for another 3 months.
Yeah,
and the movie's not going to be released till next year, but here's some teaser footage of that, and people line up around the building, and it's a big building, and pack this place and sit there all day because then they'd have to go back in line and come back in. So that's like the high end hysteria level.
Because celebrities show up there too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Heroes Con is a lot more chill, to the point where they can say, "Hey, Nerd Skool, you've never done a panel before. Come do 2 panels." And
they saw something in us. They saw.
But there was it looked like there was representation from all over the country, if not the world, from comic artists from everywhere. There was a guy from a lot of people from New York I talked to. There was somebody from Dayton, I think, a comic shop. There was like Nashville, a lot of people from Tennessee. So there was a ton of people there.
Yeah. We have a pretty good con and a pretty good reputation.
Yeah.
My biggest regret is that I didn't get over to any of the cosplay contests. I meant to. One was starting, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this one thing, and then go over there, and then go up to get ready for our panel." And I right away got distracted and forgot everything I was gonna do, and I never got over to see one of those. I mean, I got to see a lot of the cosplayers, but especially after watching Ms. Marvel, like I really wanted to spend more time watching their competition.
I think that's a lesson to take right there, though, is planning, right? You're coming and like planning what that day looks like and trying to fit. You can't fit everything into one day, which is why 3 days is great. But really taking the time and mapping out what you cannot miss. You know what I mean? And really working your way through the con next year.
Well, and that floor got me so overwhelmed each time that I was just like, overstimulated. I want to see everything. I don't know where to go now. And then
not only did you want to see everything, you also spent at least 10 years at every stop. I will tell our audience, I ended up walking. I walked the floor like twice over and came back to you guys. Andy knows it because I kept finding Andy. I would walk the whole thing and then like reroute myself back and be like, Andy, where's everybody? He's like, I don't know. And then I would walk over again and check something out.
What is the Chase? This is Stretch Armstrong, right?
Yeah.
This is Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah.
The Chase figure has stretchy arms. The normal figure doesn't. That's what basically a Chase is. Look, if you look at the back, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Except the image, because he has stretchy arms. The Chase figures always there's something always different
About
about
a chase
Yeah.
figure?
So like how this is a limited edition Grizzlord.
Yeah.
Like the normal Grizzlord's probably not flocked.
Flocked?
That means it has it's that fuzzy.
Oh, it's got fuzzy hair.
Yeah.
Isn't that guy that's from Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah. That's the guy that uses his toilet. Rick and Morty is probably one of the greatest shows of this generation.
If there was a
They
Meeseeks.
don't even appreciate it.
If there was a
I'm sure we
Meeseek.
can find a Meeseeks around here.
I gotta get a whole transaction.
You did too.
I did a transaction too. I bought soap.
You just did it. I went shopping and walked this way and looked back. I was like, y'all know
Well, he was teaching me. I got audio.
Okay.
Did you really?
Does she know what? Yeah, I'm recording this.
As you should be.
Does she know what? Chase.
I don't know.
Chase figure is?
Chase.
I'm not interested.
You have to chase it. No. He taught me some about collecting toys.
There you go.
And I got audio. Hopefully the audio comes out okay. I'm sorry.
Just like a HeroClix, the most rare figure.
Yeah,
it's
the
called
rare
Chase
one.
figure.
Oh, is that what those are called too?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Oh, Prince Adam soda. That's hilarious. That's bubblegum. Hey, he is.
You said it's bubble gum. No, it's an action figure. You open the can, it's a small figure.
Is it really?
Yeah. I know what they are.
Well, I have the audio. I have an hour's worth of audio of us walking around, so I'm not sure what's all on it yet. But I enjoyed more than anything talking to people and finding out like where you from, what do you do? Where is this a comic shop? Do you have a toy store?
Where are you guys from?
We're basically out of. I live in Greenville, Tennessee, but if you're ever in the Pigeon Forge area, like if you're going to Dollywood, there's a great big flea market that sits right off to the side of the intersection as you get off that exit ramp.
Yep.
I have 6 12x16 booths in there full of this stuff.
Oh, you do? Okay.
There's
Awesome.
more comics, more figures in the section. Like I have a Star Wars section, I have a pop section, I have a Marvel Legends section, a DC section. So
Like, are you online? How did you make this? Like one guy, all of his toys, I didn't even realize that they were all 3D printed. Like they're not real toys you can get anywhere. But he's got action figures of Star Wars that they never made that he 3D printed, and then he's got the packaging that looks like real 70s packaging.
I find it hard to believe that there is a Star Wars figure that has never been made.
Right.
Well, it was that's what
every
he said.
character.
Well, it was like specific ones too. Like
They probably just did some custom.
Yeah, it was like Boba Fett from the cartoon, and so it was a little different. It was the colors were a little different. It was Cad Bane, I guess, which I assume they would have made a Cad Bane, but he was insistent that they didn't make any of these, these particular action figures.
Because you can get a Cad Bane in like the Black Series. Maybe was he doing like vintage ones?
It was the old size. It was the old size, like the old.
So like some of the like now because of the resurgence of popularity in Star Wars, like Star Wars, like that Kenner and all these other companies, they're releasing like vintage versions of like older figures or figures that never had figures that or characters who never had figures, stuff from like the that's now canon in the main universes. They're making figures for that, and then there's also they're doing Black Series figures. So
I bet they've made figures of B. Arthur and Art Carney from the holiday special.
Somewhere you can get that, but now that you can 3D print
somewhere on the World Wide Web.
Yeah,
there's even a booth where you could do a 3D printing statue of yourself.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
I didn't get to that one, so there's a lot of stuff I still missed.
So yeah, what you do, you go into the hall and you start on one side, go up and down every aisle until you get to the other side.
And I guess I do wish I never once looked at a map or anything. So I wish I would have looked ahead of time.
Yeah, you have to definitely plan. See, Andy, I'm opposite. I do the outer rim first, and then I snake through the.
Oh, really?
which is why I kept walking in the outer room, and then I went through the rest on my way back to you guys. But yeah, you have to go in with a plan, Joe, because there's so many tables and so much cool stuff. Like it's a lot of cool things, and a lot of people you just want to chat with. I met a great Black woman artist who does oh God, she did the Pride issue with Poison Ivy, and my brain is going mush.
Harley Quinn.
Yep. I was like, why don't I'm looking at them? And she does Nubia. Like she was there, and that was a cool chat to, she's not front and center, and she had a small table, but looking at her repertoire and just chatting with her, and as a Black woman artist in a space where you don't normally see a bunch of Black women that's not the norm, right? It was really cool to have those conversations. So I get it, Joe. You just we gotta make you a plan. We gotta make you a map and split your route up between days.
Well, and that's what I kind of want to share some of the stuff I got, and some when I bought Cobra Commander, that guy just threw in these comics that I had never heard of, and they're called Dual Identity. There's 2 of that. Have you ever heard of this? And I mean, Art said he never heard of it. It's all female superheroes, and then one called White.
You're gonna get a lot of independent
White Arrow
creators
or something like. Absolute Comics is Absolute
Well,
Comics, and no, they call women.
This is what happened. So after I peer pressured Joe into buying the Cobra Commander, I picked up one of the books. I'm like, oh, it's free here. Take this thing. And then that's when once he was paying for the stuff, the other guy was like, here, take some of these. And just threw some. And Joe was like, what? Like,
I didn't even. If I had known that, I was trying to look for free stuff because being somebody who doesn't even know where to begin, I want a bunch of free comics, but I didn't know they had them just laying around.
Here's the thing. Sometimes even if you're not looking for free shit, like I remember the first time I went to the Minicon down here. I remember just sitting down, went to this guy, like, oh, cool. So I started going through his dollar boxes, buying up shit, and then the dude was like, here, take some more. Here, take some more. He just started throwing shit in my bag. Right? Because a lot of times when they bring this stuff, like I was telling you at the end of this con, when we was walking around, they don't want to take a lot of all of this shit back with them. So it's like, okay, we'll mark the prices down. Someone's spending the money. Let's give them some I don't want to say kickback. Let's give them some free stuff for spending money with us or whatever.
Yeah.
So
you'll get all sorts of deals on the last day.
Yep.
Yeah, we caught some good deals on the last day.
Well, I got Cobra Commander for 40% off, and then we bought the comic books from Greg Anderson Elise, I guess his name is, author out of Brooklyn. It's Nana the Were Spider.
Nazi. It's based on African folklore. So that's our who's the American version of that art? Because we have Brer Rabbit and Anansi the spider from culturally.
Not a Nazi, a Nancy.
Anansi.
So it's
I kept hearing a Nazi. It's like I'm
No.
pretty sure that
you
name is
said
not
Nazi
Nazi.
too. I was like,
No,
No,
guys.
Anansi.
I was like, that guy was a Nazi.
Never.
I had no idea that guy was a Nazi, and I gave him $40.
Oh, but no, I loved. We got one of his comic book too in our family because I love one. You're taking comic books and then you're adding history, cultural history.
I
in
love
the
it.
mix.
Yeah,
I was like, yes, please.
And it mentions the first episode mentions the Brer Rabbit in it, and other things. Which was, I mean, and I was just looking through, and the art is beautiful.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things I'm like, I'm really, I don't know how to say this. I'm like learning to appreciate just the artistic value of comics. Like, when I was a kid, I just read it for the action and everything. But it's like now I'm like, I'll just look at a page and just be like, God, this is beautiful. Like I find it, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
There you go. That's an important step.
Right.
I don't know what turned that on for me. Other than
We'll say it's us. We'll take credit.
It could be. I mean, part of it was, I mean, you guys gave me the speeches before we went about, like respecting the artist and make sure to pay the artist and all that kind of thing. And just talking about and then seeing all these people reminded me of just the performance art world that we're in. You and I, we all know, all of us here know a lot of performing artists who are just struggling to get their art out. They all have to have day jobs, but we do our art for free, or we try to get paid for it. We do it because it's a passion. and I know struggling comedians and a lot of comedians and actors that are trying to do their thing. And I never really even thought much about authors and artists and comic book artists, and there's all these people like looking at what Art Star can do just with his hands. He can make beautiful things, and he should get paid for it. And then seeing all these people there that are like-minded individuals, it's like it's like an art fair type of thing. It's like just all these artistic people that are also nerdy just packed into this place together, trying to make a thing. Like just, I guess, being that I went there and I bumped into my comedy friends, my improv friends who are writing a comic book, which I had no idea. That's called Sasquatch, the War Ender, where Sasquatch is destroying Hitler. And it's kind of a funny action comic. That just reminded me of like, there are people, artists trying to do this. It's just art, and it's beautiful. And then just realizing how good this art is and how gorgeous it is, and how just looking at it, it's cool. Like I
think about the work that goes into it and how difficult it is, and especially then that gives you a respect for the people who Marvel puts out a bunch of comics. Marvel, DC, like all the big distributors put out tons of comics on a weekly basis. And these artists have to work on deadlines. They have to produce 24 pages per comic.
Well, I think another thing that helped me kind of appreciate it was Larry Hama's panel, where he talked about part of the reason he got G.I. Joe was he was an artist, not a storyteller. He was an artist, and they did not want, in those days, they didn't want anybody switch, like they didn't want artists telling stories, and they wanted storytellers drawing. And he was like, they were adamant about that. No, you're not allowed to do anything. And so G.I. Joe, when that came about, it was just another toy. Like the toy comics, nobody wanted to ever do. There were commercial toys, and you had to basically we made a toy, you have to write something about this toy. And they were crap, and they didn't get any support or marketing, and you didn't make any money. So every single Larry Hama said every single person at Marvel passed on it, and they went up and down the aisle. His office was the very last one, and they came to him very last, and they had nobody else to go to. And he was like, "Sure, I'll do it," because he, number one, wanted to be a storyteller. He wanted to tell stories, and nobody else would.
Oh, that one story he was telling about 9/11. Was like, it was almost like you wanted to just cry, right?
Well, he started the panel off because he was he lives right by Ground Zero.
Oh, wow.
And he was there during 9/11. So they started off like, tell us about 9/11. I was like, no offense, but I don't want to know about 9/11. I want to know everything else about you. But it was very good. It was very
but look, just the fact that I was sitting there, like he was probably the only one who was in the midst of 9/11, but Marvel didn't include him in the 9/11 tribute book. Yeah, they were like, when they said that, I kind of like, wait, is he like kind of taking shots at Marvel here? Like, so like, hey,
kind of was. I felt like he seemed like a guy who's been around and doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, so but he's still
after you live a life, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all kind of there. I mean, I get it, and I actually appreciated his frankness with a lot of it. I mean, he kind of he explained the bullshit, and G.I. Joe happened to be right. Like you didn't get rights or anything to those afterwards, but that was the first one after he wrote it or got on it and started making it. Was when you started getting royalties. It was like everybody else before that didn't get any royalties. So that became his bread and butter. He made all this. And the other thing is he never watched any of the cartoons. Like they asked him, like, what'd you think about the cartoons? Like, I don't know, never seen them. Like, what? And he was like, yeah, it wasn't written by me, so I didn't want to see it. Like, I don't even want to know what they did. And I think that explains kind of why the cartoon's really dumb. And the comics that I'm reading are great. But he was like, yeah, it was like, these are characters. And the question I asked him was like, because he said he based a lot of the characters off of his buddies because he was in the service. And I said, did any of your friends that recognize themselves and be like, hey, you can't use me in the comic? And he said, no, I send them toys and they make a lot of money off of them. So He said,
Nice.
Wild Bill's my buddy in Texas. He's a real guy. Airtight is my buddy that's in Wisconsin. I sent him, he just sold toys and bought a Glock with it, you know? And it was like, and he just said, thanks for the Glock, but he didn't give a shit about the toys. Like, they don't give a shit that they're like, if I was Airtight, I'd be like, I'm fucking Airtight, man.
If I was based on anybody's artistic work, I'd take all the credit, and you can take pictures of me and I will sign whatever everywhere we go.
Yeah, I'll buy all the comics. I'll put them up everywhere. But he said his friends didn't give a shit about them, except that they got toys in their closets. And, you know, just he talked about donating a bunch of toys, that they'd send him all the toys all the time. And he just gave them away to people. Like, everybody in the room was like, oh my God, geez, what those are worth now. I think those are the big things that I want to just kind of get out there. It's like the things he said that I couldn't believe. And he did say, oh, the other cool thing he said was sometimes there was he looked at it as a challenge. Like, the toy company, Hasbro or whatever, they would tell him what he would want to tell him what to draw on the cover. They said the cover draws him in. So we want this on the cover. We don't care what's in the book. But he took that as a challenge. He'd draw whatever they say. Like, they'd tell him what toys to draw. He'd draw them on there, and then he would backwards write the story to match what the cover was. And so he was like, that's a challenge for me. And he used an example. It's funny. He used an example. He's like, they'll say like, draw a Cobra guy on a hang glider and draw the G.I. Joe guys on the, whatever you call it, the snow sled. And the very next, I was reading G.I. Joe on the Comixology app, and the very next episode issue I got to was that cover. And I have it as my background now on my phone, because he was like talking about that specific one, and just thinking about him drawing this. Oh, you can't see it, but
so much glare.
Drawing this cover, and then
what issue
having to make the story. It was like issue 11.
Okay.
Also,
yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, that is a lost art, I think, because these days the cover does not have to have anything to do with what's in the book.
We seen, like, while we was walking around trying to find my Juggernaut figure, we saw blank comics, and I was explaining to Joe how some people will actually go and they'll buy comics with blank covers, and they'll take them to the artist and be like, hey, can you draw this on there? Or they'll just, if they want to, they'll take it and they can create their own cover for the comic. But like a lot of times they sell blank covers for our comics now.
Yeah, just like if it's a Daredevil comic, as long as it's a picture of Daredevil in some way. It used to be, it had to reflect what was in the comics. Like there'd be all these word balloons, like Daredevil goes, oh no, I'm against Mr. Fear. How am I going to beat him this time? Or something like that. But now it's just some kind of cool splash page of Daredevil looking all moody or whatever, and
throwing a baton.
Maybe someone else who was in that issue, like, oh, Elektra's in this issue, put Elektra on there.
Joe's nerddom is getting big.
I'll be reading a comic and I'll just be like, that's such a cool panel, and I'll just stare at the panel for 2 minutes, and then I'll just screen grab it. So I got all these like screen grabs of like Snake Eyes and everything, and I don't guess it's just more to show that I've been like really appreciating the art and the beauty of comics, and
that's good.
So I'm becoming a huge nerd. I bought D&D dice. I'm trying to design a role-playing game. Download a D&D podcast that they play D&D like and in a funny way, I guess. But I don't know. There's all this stuff that I'm just nerded out. I regret. There's so much I regret. I wish I would have spent more time on
in general.
You should regret nothing. You should regret nothing, Joe.
In life, in your relationships.
No, none of that. No, from the Heroes Con. Just the Heroes Con.
I failed as a father and a husband.
Right.
Yeah, well, that too. But I wish I would have spent less time with my kids and more time at nerd conventions. Well, I mean, who goes to their
compromise with your kids at nerd convention?
Yeah. Well, who goes to their first nerd convention at 45? It's like all these years I didn't go. But still, I'm like,
first time for everybody. Mm-hmm. We're always taking new nerds.
There's no age limit on discovering something new.
Well,
there's no age limit on enjoying something new.
My Jam Master J action figure now, because of the Nerd Con, I saw that there.
There
I had
you
to
go.
buy it cheaper online. I don't know, but there was so much there that I didn't get a chance to see, because I thought, I have all weekend, and it goes so fast. You go so fast when you're talking to people, and when you're looking for stuff. Like Art Star and I started looking for. They had a reaction action set of
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. There's that scene in G.I. Joe when Snake Eyes gets lost and when he first gets his dog and this old Eskimo guy finds him. And it was an action set of the Eskimo and the bobsled with Snake Eyes in the back and the dog pulling,
And so here was Joe and I. Like, I was one trying to find my Juggernaut figure, but Joe was determined to show me this reaction set. Like, he was determined to show this. It was almost like, when you were that little kid, and like, I always talk about like our friends growing up. Like, that's the way we were. Like, it was always like once we got some sort of new toy, it was like we couldn't wait to show each other the new toy.
Yeah.
And Joe had that moment.
That's how it was.
Joe was determined. He's like, I don't know. I think it was right here. Oh, no, wait. It was right here. Then we looking on the picture. Like, it was like right here.
I couldn't figure out where I was.
Is that when Andy and I lost you both?
That's probably because he was looking for Juggernaut and I kept thinking I'd find it. And then I wanted to show him that. And then like the reaction, it brought me in this whole world of reaction figures that they make one of Roadblock called Body Massage. It's just Roadblock with that thing and the packaging says Body Massage. You can buy that. And the computer, like they have a computer. They have an action figure of that. Like
stop all the downloading.
Stop all the downloading.
Help computer.
Yeah, DBJ has no idea what we're talking about.
There's classic. This is like early internet comedy. Was I can't remember the name of who did it, but
so in the 80s, TBJ. Do you know about those GI Joe PSAs that they had?
It was awesome.
That were like
the end of every episode. It'd be like, "Hey, don't touch live electric wires." Knowing is and like now we know.
Now
knowing
you know.
is
Knowing is half the battle.
Yeah. Me and my work wife, when I used to work at the art store, we used to sit on the art store some Sundays on the internet just watching those PSAs.
And it was just somebody took the animation from that and just made them really weird, surreal.
They dubbed over. Yeah. They dubbed over something weird. And so Roadblock in one of the old PSAs and the new one was just offering body massages to these who wants a body massage.
Lord.
Who wants a body massage?
And then Snow Job is Australian and screaming at kids to get off of his lawn.
It's just like random weird. That was like the first internet like comedy, like you said to me.
Well, not that I wouldn't say that's the first, but it was early on, and then it was
getting
a brilliant
the
idea.
Going viral, how about that?
Yeah. So now they've made action figures of those. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
It's like,
anyway, but I guess that's my biggest thing. I mean, sorry, I'm just going back to just I wish I wanted to talk to every person there and get their story. I wanted to make a documentary of all these people or something. I don't know.
Now you have goals for the next year. You plan it well. You're just gonna have to take all 3 days off. Do not work.
Yeah.
And from morning to evening, you're gonna have to spend at the con.
Well, Art and I talked about the volunteers and how does that work? Do they have to volunteer the whole time? And like, can you volunteer?
I was also wondering if they were happy, were they excited to sit behind there? Like, we seen the one guy who was, I guess the first day we saw him, he was random. I think we saw him at I didn't see him on the convention floor, but I did see him when we were at the after party when he had I saw him on the convention floor in a Spider-Man suit. But then at the after party, I saw him with the orange Heroes Con volunteer shirt on.
Yeah, so that was the one thing, and we knew a guy from one of our nerdy night out shows. He was volunteering at the paint and what's it called? Draw and sip.
Draw and sip.
Drink and draw.
Drink and
draw.
Yeah,
and sip.
And probably, it's a good way to save yourself money and get yourself into a con.
Yeah. Do you automatically get in if you volunteer one day? That's Brian. We'll ask him.
That's one of the competencies.
I know, like in Baltimore, that's what they would do. Like if you would volunteer, you would get like a 3-day pass, but then you have to basically you spent a lot of your time working.
I mean, I guess we don't have to. As long as we're doing another panel, we're probably good. But
that reminds me, though, I am now an artist who has sold art.
Yes,
you are.
I drew
let's talk
Optimus
about this
Prime.
Event. Let's talk about this event. Let's explain this event a little bit.
The drink and draw is where, like, after the show floor closes, everyone goes to the next door hotel, and they're in one of the ballrooms. They've got all the professionals coming in. They provide art materials like what I think what was the guy's name? It was like Joe's Cheap Art or something like that, or Cheap Joe's Art.
No, it's Joe's
Cheap Joe's Art.
Something like that. And so they provide art materials like little coasters you can draw on or full on pieces of paper. And then like all the professional artists will come in there, knock out a few sketches, and then turn them in, and then they auction them right off, depending, and it varies depending on how well known the artist is.
Create something and then we'll try to auction it off in real time. The important thing about this event is that all of the money we raise tonight, 100% of it goes to the Michael J. Fox Foundation and a team called SAC for Parkinson's research.
Yes, Michael J. Fox.
So far, over the past decade, we've raised nearly $300,000.
Wow. So we're at the drink and draw.
The 10th anniversary help us make even more difference.
Or the drink and draw. We're at the drink and draw. What is this? A reception?
Yes.
And so there we go. We met somebody who liked our panel and is now going to subscribe to us. And so here we are, and this is a cool thing where you can buy a coaster, and these famous artists will draw something, and then they'll auction it off. I guess you can get a bidding war, but all the money goes to support the Michael J. Fox Foundation. But also, based on the success of this, that means next year's con will be better. They said, the more money we raise. Anyway, I'm drinking a hop, drop, and roll. Art Star's drinking a hop, drop, and roll, drinking some local beers. Andy's drinking a Sam Adams. And we're just decompressing.
But even if you're not an artist, there's a $5 table where if you want to draw something, or if I want to take a coaster and draw Optimus Prime saying enjoy cheese, and then sign it on the back, Nerd School Podcast, throw it down on the $5 table.
And the guy who bought it was somebody who came to one of our panels, and he bought it because it said Nerd School Podcast on it.
That's right. Not because it was any good, but because he liked our
art is
panel.
subjective sometimes.
Yes.
And I bought the ones I bought. Somebody told me.
Oh yeah, tell a story, Joe.
Yeah,
tell a story, Joe.
So I bought 4 of them because I decided I want to buy something.
And what happened to him?
From this, and I want to frame it with a picture of us from the Nerd School Podcast and have it forever be a framed thing of our first Heroes Con. And so I went to the $20 table, and I was like, I'm not spending $20. Went down to the $10 table, and right when I got to the $10 table, they took stuff from the $20 table and moved it down to 10, so it got cheaper. And it was these 4 that I was looking at, and I didn't know who drew it at the time. When they pulled them down, they put them in front of me, and they said these were done by a 13-year-old girl over there. And they were amazing. Ghostbusters and Spider Pig. And there was one of
and the money raised goes to charity.
Yeah,
the money. Yeah,
this one was all for Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's Foundation, which is near and dear to Andy and I's heart because our grandpa passed away of Parkinson's. He had Parkinson's for 14 years. It stole like one of the greatest people of our entire lives away from us for a while. So it meant a lot. So I want to spend money on that too, but I also wanted some. And so this girl, she had a whole Ghostbusters thing on a coaster. It had the Marshmallow Man or the Marshmallow Man and all that. And it was really well done. Slimer was on there. And they said, this girl's 13. I was like, that's so awesome. And so I bought hers. I bought her 3 and one other one from somebody who did Basketball Granny from the 80s commercials. Yeah, the Larry Johnson.
Grandmama
from the, remember that? And it was like, I totally remember that. And it was so well done. And that was from a guy named Jason Draws Things. Anyway, I couldn't remember where I put those coasters for a while. I was looking for them. I was like, where the hell did I put them? And then I found them, unfortunately, in the dryer in a million pieces. So I washed them all and dried them, and they're ruined.
Good job, idiot.
But I have
you
a nice
stupid idiot.
But I have a nice picture of them.
You don't have the art. You have a picture of the art.
I have a picture of the art. So
well, I told him he could still take a picture of it. Take the picture, have it printed out and frame that.
Yeah, it was a pretty high quality picture that I put on Instagram from the Nerd School Podcast. You can see those that I ruined my whole entire. They're in my pocket. God damn it.
Do you think we should have a weekly or regular feature on the show called State of the Art Star? And then just Art says something he's mad about or happy about.
Was I mad about that?
No. I'm just saying. State of the Art. I thought that'd be a great title for a bit where Art just talks about something he's mad about.
Grinds my gears.
Well,
something like that. Yeah.
I was saying we do need to have everybody. We need to have some like segments more than just us going through the movies. Like we need to have each like Tiffany, and we already kind of do. I mean, you guys all kind of do your niche thing,
but we just do it while we're in the process.
While we're doing it, but
try to talk about the movies.
Like every segment needs a little theme, like
or something.
State of the Art,
Yeah.
and then
Maybe
Art says, "Here's what I'm mad about. I can't do armpit farts anymore," or something like that. And then
I could never do armpit farts.
Yeah, me neither.
So
I just assumed everyone else could.
I'm a lady. We don't do those things.
We don't talk about doing those things.
No, we don't. I simply do not. The end. Now, I like it. If we don't put it in this hour, then we still need to record those and make reels because that's where engagement is. It's reels, and we need some of that content.
Yeah, word up.
So yeah, if you guys have any
Word
pictures, let's
up.
put them on our Instagram. I'll put a picture of us with Larry Hama if we didn't already send that out. Art.
I think I sent all my pictures to TBJ.
Can you talk about the experience, Joe, with the Larry Hama, like how it came to be, the picture?
Yeah. So Art was like, "Let's go get our picture with them."
No. Let's say this right.
I like how you're forcing him to tell the story.
What am I
essentially
missing?
You should just tell the story.
I was like, no, let's not bother him.
You said, I said, hey,
he's an old man. Let's not bother him.
You was excited about this panel.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, maybe you should see if he'll take a picture.
Well,
that's what I said to you.
I had my hand up when the panel ended because I had another question for him. So I thought, well, I can just ask my question. But I also, as I approached him, I remembered the 900 times I've worked events where artists are coming out to meet and greet with fans, and they never seem. I guess they're kind of excited about it, but they just seem like it's a chore. And I was like, I don't want to be somebody that causes a chore for this guy, like.
Yeah, that was part of what soured me on being a comics journalist at all, because every time you like interview someone, you felt like you were the worst part of their day.
Yeah.
Aww.
Like there was a time, it wasn't necessarily always comics, but like I got to do a press junket for The Proposal, that movie.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, and I got to interview Betty White. I was very excited about it. And then as I'm going in to interview her, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great." And they said, "Yeah, you're her 60th person this morning." Yeah. And then like you walk in, you get like 5 or 6 minutes or whatever to get a soundbite or whatever, 60th. And then you leave. It's like Betty White has done 60 interviews and it's not even noon. And so like I immediately was like, oh, I'm an imposition. I'm awful. I mean, it's part of the job. It's part of why they make the money is they have to glad hand everybody and talk to people. But it's like it takes the wind out of your sails when you're doing that. So I get why you didn't want to bother him.
And here's the thing, and this is me. I feel my take as an artist, I feel like, okay, let's say if I'm creating, anything I'm creating and people are they're consuming it, right? And I feel like if they're not consuming what I'm creating, it affects my livelihood to some extent. So it's like, I'm like, as much as Art Star hates small talk, he thinks it's the epitome of bullshit. Like if I'm sitting there, like if someone comes up to me and be like, "Hey, Art Star, can I get a picture with you?" I'll be like, "Oh shit, okay, sure, no problem."
They did that to us, and we love it.
Right.
But because we're not asked that every day.
But when I ask them, like, why don't you just ask them? What worst thing you can say is no, kind of thing. So I walk. So Joe, like, I'm like, what is this? Like, I was not expecting that from Joe, Mister. Let's get everybody drunk. Let's ask Art Star. Do he want some of Mark Maron's salty nuts? I was not I was not expecting that from Joe. So I was like, "Excuse me, is it okay if we get a picture?" He's like, "Sure, no problem."
I will say
he was happy to do it.
I will say Mark Maron, he just had his show, and he was going to walk outside, and I said, "Oh, you don't want to walk outside because that's where everybody tries to get your autograph." And he was like, they won't be there for me. And I was like, I don't know. They know that's the stage door. We walked out, and some people were walking by, and they weren't really there. But then they saw him, and they're like, "Oh, hey, great show! Can we get a picture with you?" And he was kind of like, "Yeah." And then he was kind of like looking around. You could tell he kind of was like, kind of hoping people might want to take a picture with him, maybe, and nobody was around. And then he's like, "Well, I guess I'll go through the lobby." I was like, "Are you kidding me? Why do you even go through the lobby? Everybody's out there. Like, they're gonna mob you." He was like, "No, it's fine. They won't."
I mean, part of you wants it's some days you want nothing from people, and some days you're like, it'd be nice for people to acknowledge that I just did something that was cool.
Yeah, sometimes you want a little feedback. Probably. I mean, he just got done talking for 2 hours, so he probably wanted somebody to say like, "Hey, it was good." But yeah, I mean, he's a kind of a down to earth guy, but.
Yeah, but if you've listened to enough of his podcasts, you know he's kind of always about, like, he's he's entertainingly jealous of everyone else's success, so he's always kind of doing the thing.
Yeah, but back to Larry Hama. Other thing he said was he was talking about how when Marvel was really struggling, how G.I. Joe and Transformers really kind of saved the company. He feels, and they were so big.
The early Transformers comics, which is how I started on comic books, really, aside from like the few random single issues we had floating around our house, was a lot of that same thing. Where like, here are the toys you have to introduce in this issue.
Yeah,
go with that, and then somehow it managed to stick. Like, it started as a 4-issue limited series, and then it went to 80 issues, and with separate comics in England, like weaving around the American comic stories with other characters they weren't using. So it was really very kind of unique in that way, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. And I just looked up I found out there's like a British version of Sergeant Slaughter. And that there's an action figure of it that's going for like
I say you
$6,000. Huh?
Did he have a like Sergeant Slaughter calling people maggots with a British accent?
I think his name was Sergeant Savage or something. No,
Sergeant. I can't think of anything British that would be funny. That's not Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Lieutenant Slaughter.
Lieutenant, yeah, that sounds right.
I can't remember what it was called.
Constable Slaughter.
But it's like super expensive. Whatever it was. It's like they made
Joe's looking up shit to buy. Looking up
no,
memorabilia.
I know now he's in this spendy mood. He's got to buy all the things.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I can't remember. There was something else I was going to say, but I guess I don't. So what about you guys? How did you guys feel about the floor, and what else did you see? Anything else that you guys kind of want to mention?
I kind of wanted to ask what your favorite costume that you saw, cosplay that you saw going on. Just given what you saw there.
I guess I'm really surprised how many Spider-Men I saw. It was like,
yeah, there's a lot of spider action.
A lot of fucking Spider-Men. I guess probably the guy that we talked to that was excited. He came to one of our panels as we're waiting there towards the end, and he was dressed up like
Rick Moranis from Ghostbusters.
Rick Moranis from Ghostbusters. That was pretty clever. That was probably my favorite. But seeing that one pyramid head woman walking around, she just had a pyramid on her head, nothing else. That was kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of people.
It was so many. But I do have one beef to pick with Joe because he tried to say that Disney also doesn't count in Comic-Cons. And I was like, it does, Joe. And I will note that there were princesses walking the floor. And a reminder to Joe that Marvel is a part of Disney's world, and Disney has its own fandom. It is large. There is a large adult fandom of Disney. So it counts.
Well, even what is
it? Counts.
But is it nerdy though?
Yes.
Does it count as nerdy?
No. How many adults do you know? Do you think Disney adults are non-nerdy? Let's be real.
So Tommy is the perfect example. He's the ultimate Disney adult nerd, and he would never go to Comic-Con, Heroes Con.
But he'd probably go to Disney.
Does he go to Disney World?
I don't think he would consider himself a nerd though.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't consider.
But that's a specific person. I'm telling
But he
you,
walks around with a goofy
90%
hat
of
all the
my
time.
content on my IG is other Disney adults.
Yeah.
And it's, you want to talk about cosplaying and bounding to the max, it's Disney adults.
I never heard of bounding. What's that?
We've talked about it several times on this show.
Jeez, Joe.
That Joe.
Okay,
you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
While we're
that could
picking,
be Joe's segment. Joe's segment could start up with like, "Oh, that Joe."
Okay, while we're picking bones, TBJ, I was listening back to some audio, and I just was reminded of the trivia that you failed and I got right for nerd trivia for Marvel.
We did.
All right, so we're at the nerd convention, and I just helped one of the professors answer a question.
I told y'all yesterday my brain was mush. I meant it.
That's okay.
I couldn't even
But
remember.
don't I get extra credit for that? I told her who Cassie was. I knew that. It's rigged. It always goes spin again. And it's always trivia.
Hey. Well, Andy's better.
Hawkeye. Whoa! True or false? Hawkeye's dumb because he just has a bow and arrow.
Not dumb. You
couldn't name Ant-Man's daughter.
I had a hella brain fart. I said it when it happened. I said, guys, I'm not going to be able to answer this, but I will remind the audience, just like I will remind my team, that I was hella tired that weekend. And so while the guys were out at drawing and drinking, Tiffany was in bed. Like, she literally was messaging you guys from pictures in bed.
Well, you were in
each
bed.
day, and Saturday I literally worked 2 shows and ran over to do our thing and came back. So when I say my brain was mush.
Well, the 3 of us guys, you don't know this, but after the sip and draw, drink and draw, we all blacked out. We didn't know what happened. We all 3 woke up in puddles of our own vomit, completely nude in an alley behind the Comic-Con.
Was it an accident, Joe, or was this a plot that you planned?
Well, we did roofie ourselves.
You would have. You would. You would. I will note, P.S., from this weekend of going to Heroes Con, and you guys, I don't think you guys were there yet, but Andy was there when I ran into 2 teenagers, and I was like, hey guys, I know your mom, and I'm not stranger dangering you. I know your mom. I knew them by their costumes. But what happened is that sparked a conversation with their mom, who went back to listen to our podcast. And she didn't start from the beginning. She started with Scott Pilgrim. And then we had a whole conversation about, one, she's loving the podcast. So if you're listening, hey, Karen.
Yay,
But
Karen.
2, we started a conversation based on what we were talking about in Scott Pilgrim and high school girls dating grown-ups and all that jazz. And she told me this interesting story about one of her high school friends having an adult boyfriend and all that mess. But all that to say, our content sparking conversations. Right. But that whole conversation sparked from being on the floor at Heroes Con and recognizing 2 cosplayers.
That's pretty
over
cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our numbers, and they are going up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing about Heroes Con and this particular event is all ages, right? There was adults, there were whole families.
Yeah.
Like when I went to the Star Wars draw, there was like a couple and they had 4 or 5 kids. Like they were all there. Like whole families showed up, young, old. There was no age limit to the nerdiness that was there.
Well, I seen a family come in and they all was cosplaying as the Bat Family.
I love it. Yeah, there were so many cool cosplay families. I was like, this is phenomenal.
There was a couple, both. I think there were a couple, both dressed as Spider-Gwen, which I really liked.
I seen a couple. I think, and Tiffany got at me for taking a pic because of the picture. But they was one was Spider-Gwen and the other one was Miles Morales.
There you
walking
go.
away.
Yes. No, take the picture. You were just taking it like a creeper on the side. You could stop here and be like, can I have a picture? That's all you had to do. You were like standing to the side.
At the time, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just literally saying, because I said I'm gonna go downstairs and just get some footage of stuff as I'm walking. I wasn't going down there and be like, hey, can I take a picture? I wasn't going around.
You should
for
have,
that
because you were
moment. I was
giving
just like,
off stalker vibes, taking it from the side as people.
See, that's I've done that just because I don't want to like the entire day is, hey, can I take a picture? Hey, can I take a picture? Hey, can I take? I just like, can I get a picture while someone else is taking a picture so I don't have to bother them.
But Andy, that makes sense if they're already stopped. But if I showed you the way that Art was taking the picture, it literally was him standing to the side as they were walking by.
Fair enough.
Like
I
he
wouldn't doubt
was a private investigator or a stalker. Like
I
those
feel like
were the vibes.
you're trying to paint
pictures.
me as a stalker because I'm a sis, but it's okay.
Listen, you got some tendencies. That's all I'm saying.
It's okay. It's okay.
But Andy, like you said, if someone was already stopped, you can get a picture of them that looks decent, or if they're browsing, you without harassing them. No, Art was creepy. They were creepy.
Yeah, there's ways to do it either way.
Yeah, so it's okay. I appreciate Art. Art was.
I don't think you do.
Listen,
I don't
do.
think you do.
Art jumps in and helps me out with our social media, and I appreciate it to the max.
That's right.
Wow.
To the max.
And you heard it here
now,
first.
Art, because I'm not saying this ever again. So you better take the appreciation today. This isn't happening anymore.
You say that now, but it will. I'm telling you, I'm wearing you down.
Yeah, no,
I'm wearing
you're
you down. You will be my
hard.
You will be my apprentice.
Nope. Tiffany will not walk on the dark side. I'm too angelic. I don't know what's wrong with y'all.
That's what's going to make you the perfect apprentice.
No.
People will never see it coming.
Nope.
And they will never see TBJ coming.
No, thank you. I will sit on the side with my blue lightsaber. It's cool.
One of the thoughts I had about this was to whether or not we should do the tournaments we ran at the Heroes Con, except amongst ourselves, because we were just tiebreakers.
All right, it's a tie.
We break the tie?
All right.
Ant-Man, Spider-Man 2?
I gotta go Spider-Man 2.
I'm on Spider-Man 2. Same.
What do you guys think? Art?
Ant-Man.
All right, Joe.
I haven't seen Spider-Man 2, so I
So-
gotta go with Ant-Man.
And then we're still tied because it's 2 and 2.
So now we need a debate. Who's got a 2?
No.
Wait,
this guy.
what'd he say?
This guy.
Spider-Man 2, there's no way home.
Exactly.
Okay.
Wait, what does he say?
Ant-Man argument?
You need Ant-Man to reboot the universe for Endgame. So like you can't have Endgame without Ant-Man because of him.
And that's the biggest event on the
Yeah.
release so far. You don't do
There you go.
I said Judy Greer is wasted in Ant-Man, whereas everybody in Spider-Man 2 is giving it their all.
Uh-huh.
All right. Judy Greer shout out. I'm going to give it to Spider-Man 2. That's a close one. It was an overtime.
We reserve the right.
You can sue the referee later.
We reserve the right to make our own random choices at random times. Yeah.
And
we
just
didn't get to
announcing
pick,
thing.
yeah.
We let the audience decide the winners. And although Joe hasn't seen like half of them, so
we could do it. We could do it with the first 3 phases of MCU that we've already been through.
well, I was thinking we should do it and just if you haven't seen either one of them, you can just say which one hits you. Like which one would you rather watch?
Yeah.
There you go.
Like which one would you rather?
Like,
check
would
out
you
first?
rather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you
Joe's
rather
like,
watch?
I'm not that enthusiastic about that. You don't have to do it today, Joe. Good
Yeah,
girl.
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, hey, put it out to our new listeners to see if they'd like to
Yeah.
hear us go over those, except with our choices instead of.
Yes.
We're just
Joe's
so
gonna
behind on
tease
the
you.
MCU.
Yeah, that's true.
That's when we gotta get to Star Wars. Still, that's gonna be after the MCU, right? When we catch up.
And that'll be an interesting discussion. Do we watch it in order
Are
of
we already
release
decided that
or
we're going to Star
order
Wars
chronological order?
I just
Is that-
assume that's what we're gonna do. But
I mean,
I mean,
it
I'd love
is.
for us to tackle the Potter world. I'm just saying,
yeah, maybe.
there's
Okay.
a lot there, y'all.
You know what? Harry Potter is. I would not be a professor of Harry Potter. I would be not exactly learning because I know a lot of by osmosis.
I thought we don't want to support an anti-trans.
We are not putting money in her pockets. We're not going out and buying new merch. P.S. I just got an infringement case from them because I had a Harry Potter card in my Etsy shop, and I had accidentally wrote Harry Potter in the description instead of wizard. because that's how you get away with it on Etsy. And
I
so I just got a ding from Warner Studios. Fun fact: Tiffany's in trouble.
Coming for you. They're coming for you.
It's rare. I was like, dang. Do you know how many? I literally have in my Etsy shop. I have 3 Star Wars cards, and I name them by character. It's a Chewbacca card. There's a Darth Vader card, and there's a Leia card. Nothing. Marvel's like, whatever. I don't care. You make a cute card. But Harry Potter was like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. So, okay, fine. If we don't do Harry Potter now, but I would like us to cover it because that is a niche. And while we don't support the writer of the books, we do the fandom is its own beast. It's its own beast.
And by not doing it now, we've got 2 more phases of MCU and stuff to get through too.
Yeah.
Not to mention our summer break movies. We still got 2 more to watch. Well, I just watched The Losers last night, which is our next. But I believe you haven't watched it yet, TBJ.
No, it literally was on my list all day today, but being off yesterday was not helpful to my workload today.
I did want to ask: are we allowed to put up for the summer movie selection? Are we allowed to put up hardcore porn?
No,
no, unless you do the ones.
Unless you do Barbarella.
No, they dress up like superheroes. There's a lot of they do parodies of MCU
But
movies.
who wants to watch that? Like
That's
literally, who
for
wants
your
to watch-
OnlyFans, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't want to see. I don't want to really watch it. I just want to hear Tiffany react to it. Like, oh, God.
Here's the thing. I will know. I am not anti the porn industry. I am anti some of the misogynistic takes inside the porn industry.
Are you saying corn?
There's
Yeah, it sounded like you was saying
corn.
corn.
Yep. There's ethical corn in the world.
Do you like cream corn?
I thought you said corn.
I did say corn.
I did say corn.
No, you know that's what people say on social media so they don't get their accounts taken down. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
They put the corn emoji. Get with it, Joe.
Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind on that.
So no, there is ethical porn. There are creators who make ethical porn with women who make sure they have consent. They are not trafficking victims.
Sure, yeah.
So I am not anti-porn, but I'm not watching it just for the hell of it because someone put on a superhero costume.
I'm too old for that. But another question for TBJ: should I open my Jam Master J action
No,
figures?
you got to leave him.
Leave him in. I want to
Display
play with
him just like that.
But the
So,
corner
and
of it is messed up.
So
They didn't
this is
tell me
what I
that.
told him. I was telling Joe. So what you do is you
buy 2.
one to open,
yeah,
and one to
Here's
how
what
they
made
get
me
you.
want to. Here's what
That's
made
the
me want to.
sickness.
Here's what made me want to play with it. Look, he's got holes in the bottom of his feet, which means you can put them on like vehicles.
Star Wars. You can put them on the Death Star and the Millennium Falcon.
And let it roll out.
Jam Master
right.
J action figure is what I have. Yeah.
Punch it, Chewy.
Anyway, so we had a great time at Heroes Con. We're
That was
very
the best.
honored to be part of it. Shout out to Andy Mansell. Sorry, I got some indigestion from my beer that I just.
Yes.
Shout out to Andy Mansell for coming up with the idea and putting us on it and getting us some feedback and listeners. Shout out to you listeners for coming.
Yes.
And interacting with us and arguing with TBJ.
Listen, I got
made it
bail
a lot
money,
of fun.
so you guys can hit us on our social media if you've got more arguments as you listen to our podcast. But I have a feeling once you listen to our podcast, your arguments will be less with TBJ and more with Art Star. Or
wow. I think if anything, they'd be like, "Oh, that guy's pretty fucking."
No,
cool.
that's not what normally happens on the podcast, and you know it. People who are like, "Oh my
That
god, I
guy's-
love it," except I was really
that
mad at this
guy's
one guy.
pretty fucking
It's
cool.
generally you, Art Star, that they get angry with.
You know what? I forgot. Speaking of you getting angry at Art Star, do we even tell TBJ what you drew at the draw and drink and draw?
Oh yeah, I drew a drunk Batman logo.
He drew a Batman logo and sold it. And the other thing is,
The Batman logo wasn't drunk. He was drunk while he was drawing it.
a famous artist sat down at our table too.
Guy Gilchrist. Guy Gilchrist.
There you go.
He does the Muppet comic books, which I didn't know there were. He sat down and I bumped the table after a couple beers. And
Right, but the
he didn't
coolest
like
thing
that.
was when he sat down. He was like, "Is there anything to fucking?" I don't even say fucking. Like, God, is there anything you can actually draw with around here? And Joe was like, "Here, you can have the black." It was like the whole like. I felt like it was the mean Joe Green little kid commercials, like the 70s kind of thing.
Yeah,
Joe was like,
threw the soda
here
to
you
him.
go. Right.
You guys, he met you at your drunkest. You needed adult supervision.
Well, I wasn't drunk at all because it was only a beer and a half. So I don't know why Art was drunk, but
we know he's a lightweight. We discovered this the last time we had a nerdy night in. Like,
and it was funny because I kept lifting my glass up, like, why is this drink? Why is there beer keep appearing? And I just kept drinking.
Oh, that reminds me though. We're doing another nerdy night out for the comedy festival, aren't we?
Yeah, August 20th is the nerd debate.
Heroes debate. Another heroes debate.
Yeah.
In general, let's tell this should come out. It's July. Listeners, if you're listening to this, get a ticket to the Queen City Comedy Fest because there's lots of cool things.
Yeah,
there is artists coming in, but there's lots of local artists doing cool things, including us.
Yeah, we got Weird Al's our headliner, Queen City Comedy Experience. We got Comedy Bang Bang coming to town.
Comedy Bang Bang Bang.
A lot of cool stuff, plus a lot of local comedians. So those of you who are at Heroes Con and you're still in Charlotte or you live in Charlotte, check it out.
Comedy Bang Bang Bang.
The Nerd School podcast will be at the Heroes Debate on August 20th at Discovery Place, and TPK will be performing at
Ladies Who Rock
on
the 16th,
August 16th. Yeah, so
because I'm also a badass storyteller.
She is
the next August 20th, the next Nerd School public appearance.
Yeah, so if you want to come see us at Discovery Place, Science,
and
you can drink. We're gonna have beers in there.
Science.
Everybody can drink beers except Art Star.
But Art Star will be shirtless at that event.
That's only for the OnlyFans, Joe. We can't make money if you keep trying to release OnlyFans content.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Before that's OnlyFans content.
There will be no moves. There will be no moves.
We should have an OnlyFans account, but the only thing that happens on there is TBJ actually says Excelsior.
That'd be great.
Listen, if people will pay money for that, I will say it behind a paywall. Or we won't say it for free.
All right. We know TBJ's got a price.
Listen, there's a price for everything.
$1 million man, Ted DiBiase.
Everybody's got a price. Well, with that, does anybody have anything else to add about Heroes Con or what they got or took?
It was a really fun time. There's always a lot of cool stuff there, but it's relaxed. It's not as like bumper to bumper as like the biggest like San Diego Con is, which is what I went there every year for like a decade or so, and it's a lot more chill and I like it.
All right.
Like a lot.
You got breathing room. Not everybody smells.
But you just said that was nerd stench.
Some people do, but not.
You just said that was nerd stench.
You can get away from them if they do. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have enough.
San Diego Comic Con is like you're shoulder to shoulder almost the whole time, just trying to weave through big crowds of people, because that's where all the movie stuff is going on and all the fancy pants stuff is.
Listen, we'll be there one day when Marvel goes ahead and throws me a check so I can just be behind the scenes peeking into stuff.
Marvel's trying to get away from doing San Diego Comic Cons, I believe, because they're not even going to be there this year.
Really?
They're doing, they're doing their stuff at D23.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Disney's got their own convention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, it's been around for a while, but
right.
It hasn't heavily focused on the superhero aspect of Disney's catalog. So I think they're going to work all of it in. That is my goal, to also be their art star. So if Disney wants to throw me a coin, or throw me a job, I'll be in.
It was neat when I got back from Heroes Con. I rewatched the episode of Marvel Girl, the first episode of Marvel Girl, where she goes to the Avengers Con.
Ms. Marvel.
Ms. Marvel.
What did I say?
Marvel Girl. Marvel Girl is a different character.
Who's that? Who's Marvel?
That's Jean Grey of the X-Men, one of the original 5 X-Men.
All right, Ms. Marvel. Sorry, where she goes to the Avengers Con. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it was really cool. And I told my daughter, I was like, hey, that's basically what we were at. We performed at, presented at, and had people listen to us. My daughter was
you're such a fucking nerd.
Why?
You're such a fucking nerd, Joe.
He's just excited that you are coming into your nerdness.
Yeah, we were at Avengers Con, basically.
I feel like if they had an Avengers Con in the MC, like I figured that they should have had at least like somebody there that's been in the MCU. Like some celebrity had to be
Should
there.
have been like Happy Hogan or somebody.
Yeah, he would have gone.
I'm surprised that that there was an article today about how they talk about Ant-Man so much in Miss Marvel. Surprised they didn't have Scott in it. Maybe he has to cameo on the last.
I'm about to say
we got a few episodes left of that.
And when you were speaking of washed up people, Virgil I didn't see Virgil at Heroes Con.
Oh, you're right.
You lied.
I didn't say Virgil either.
You said he would definitely be there. He promised.
It's been a while. Maybe he's given up the racket.
We did debate. Art and I were debating because we passed where Larry Hama was going to be signing autographs, and they said he would sign your stuff for free if he makes it out to you and put your name on it. But if it's just a blank Larry Hama, it's $10 or $20.
I don't blame him because he knows the ones who are not specifically going out to them are going to go sell it.
You're gonna sell
he's like, if it's for you, I got you. If you're about to take it and sell it,
that's cool.
now I understand.
That's cool.
So we debated on. He was gone on a break, so we debated on getting my Cobra Commander action figure box signed. But I didn't want to bother him. Art was like, bother him. Who cares? Who cares about
so
stupid
polite.
Larry Hama and his bullshit? And I was like, no, I respect him as a person, and I don't want to bother him. And Art's like, fuck him. All right,
Way to throw your partner under the bus, Joe.
Right. I'm sitting there like laughing.
That you're
I'm
like
wow.
tossing Art Star under the bus.
Well, right.
And that's your alliance in this whole podcast.
Art
is your
bullied me.
alliance.
He bullied me into buying Cobra
Just
Commander.
roll me up and just like
Right? Listen, Andy, we might win because they're breaking up.
He bullied me into buying Cobra Commander is all I'm saying. I
didn't-
wasn't going to buy him.
He is a Sith. He's a bully.
That's true. He told you this, Joe. He didn't hide it from you. You partnered with him. It's on you.
But I do love this.
Oh man.
Yes.
This is just gonna be like a really long laugh track.
Listen, I just like the day where you two take each other down and then left in the success flames of domination in Nerd School is TJ and Andy.
I think that Cobra Commander is one I've probably thought about getting to because the face plate is the coolest. The hooded Cobra Commander was always lame.
Well, we also talked about Art said that you can't get the hooded one anymore because everybody thinks he's like a clan member or something.
Well, good because
that's
it was creepy like that.
It was the blue hood.
Well, it was lame. It's just like you just have a cloth over your head. You're stupid. But
I also said it's probably
cool helmets
someone
are
out there
better.
who probably because most of these figures you can pop the heads off of them, so someone probably could 3D print a hooded head and just
Are you gonna open your
Stuck it on.
Kylo there?
I don't think so. But I have been debating on just because taking it to work all of the time, right? And just having it like the times that I work, just have it on the desk and just have people, random stage chat like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah.
And then you're gonna see it knocked over. I'm just gonna.
Then when I know TBJ coming, I'm like, show it to her, and then she'll be like, okay, I give up. I'll be your apprentice.
There's no giving up. TBJ is a Taurus, and if Tauruses are anything, it is stubborn. So there will be no.
I'm like, dang, okay.
No,
all right. You twisted my arm.
Leia is my queen. There will be no dark sides.
Well, thanks for listening, Nerd Hive.
Appreciate you guys. Later, nerds.
Word up. We're going to be back talking about the losers.
But evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems.
The Nerd School Podcast.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.
Listen, people can make fun of me for my holiday movies all we want to, but I'm like, are you alive? Did I fuss at you today? Did I yell about anything? All right, then. You're welcome. You better thank Hallmark for keeping me safe.